Hello coders, welcome to the Thursday stream. This is the How to Code Well Thursday morning stream. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good week so far. It is 7:32 British summertime. And today we're going to be furthering on what we were doing yesterday. Excuse me. Yesterday we did a code review on the PHP OOP project, and today we wrote a bunch of to-do bits and pieces. And today what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of those, not all of those. I don't think we've got time to do all of those today, but we're going to tackle some of those in today's refactoring stream. So let's get into the code. Okay, so this is our list that we created yesterday. Essentially what I did is I went through the application and I went through each file and I took a look at each file in a sort of a pragmatic sense, and I added a to-do list here of all the things that I would like to change. Let's just discuss the app first. So the application is an invoicing application. It's what I'm going to be using to teach object-oriented programming for FreeCodeCamp eventually when I get round to doing that. The application is an invoicing application. We have to build the application first before I can do the teaching. So this is in no way the course of that. This is just me building this application to then teach. And so far we've done a fair amount of work. Actually, we've done the whole routing. We've done the controllers and the views, or some of them. And we've done the connections to the database. We've done the queries, the query building, and all of that stuff. So we've got quite far into this. We obviously need to do a lot to do on the front end, but that will come. We're at a position within this project where it's kind of like a lot of stuff works, right? We've got a load of tests to back that up, and I'll demonstrate those in just a second. And we've got the back end, the sort of the middleware, if you will, to a point where we can actually draw a line under it and go, okay, now we're going to focus on the front end. But what I would like to do is take this time, this sort of area in this project, to go, okay, let's see if we can refactor the code that we've created a little bit, make it a little bit more tidier, rather than just jump straight into the front end, because then you start adding things and bolting things on, and it's good to review your code ever so often. Okay, so another point that I should make is that this is not using any PHP frameworks or libraries apart from Codeception. This is raw PHP and raw MySQL. We're using Docker. I'm a Docker guy. I use Docker pretty much all the time. So we've got Docker containers. This is all available on GitHub, by the way, and we'll be using GitHub to make issues and do pull requests and all that stuff. So, okay, we've just built the Docker machine, or we've just started that. I'm going to do an evaluation of that to the shell. Brilliant. And if I did a docker ps-a, we should see that we have these containers running. We've got 3 containers. The reason being is that we have one which is the web container. We have one which is the development MySQL container, and then we have another one which is a testing MySQL container, which means that I can tear that up and bring that down and populate that with other records and so forth without harming my development setup. So that's why we have 3. Okay, I'm going to just run the test first. Okay, so we're just going to dive into the bash shell of the web container. So if I can find the right shortcut keys, I can go into bash here. There we go, and just make sure that's available in the stream. Yeah, it is. If I did, if I went up, it should be in my, here we go, in vendor bin code set run. Okay, so we're going to run all the tests first before we even touch any of the code. It's always good to do that just to ensure that everything is as stable as you think it is. So we've got 2 failures here. The 2 failures, as I mentioned yesterday and the previous streams, are because there's a problem with the routing not catching the 404, and I think I've actually mentioned that in one of these things here. Yeah, fix the failing 404 acceptance tests. For this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment out the lines that break this test, because that's just going to get in the way of doing this refactoring. Before I do that, though, I just want to go through this list a little bit, and just to sort of talk about how we should approach the refactoring here. We've got an application that kind of works. We've got 2 failures, but we've got 115 tests, which and 113 of those are passing. And that is the first point I want to make. When you do this sort of refactoring, this sort of regression style refactoring, you really need to have a test suite to back that up. Personally, I think 115 tests on this application is too little, but that's just the way we are at the moment. It might also be a good idea to do some code coverage to see what areas of the code that is. That could be 115 tests on a small part of the application, or it could be 115 tests spread across many files, many processes, many things. So just because you have a number here doesn't mean that number should reflect how good your test suite is. It just tells you how many tests you've got, but that could be testing the same thing but in different ways, or what have you. Okay, so going through here, I was having a look at this last night, and there's a couple of areas that we can sort of like focus on first. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit as well, and there's a couple of things in here which are quite big. Okay, let's start from the top. Change bootstrap to routing. That I think is fairly straightforward because it's just a change to the way the routing is being addressed. There is a question here: does exceptions with code 400 have a header of 404? Sorry, 404. I still need to look into that. Remove list.php from views. I don't think that's going to affect anything. Move the controllers. Now this is an interesting one. So this is moving things out of the type directories. So we've got one here which is move controllers. We've got another one, I think, which is moving the entities, and we've got another one which is the forms. And is there another one? Repositories. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of similar things to do with moving the files, making the files a flatter structure. If I go into the SRC here and go into controller, you'll see what I mean. So we've got controller, and then we've got a subfolder of type. Now, in my opinion, there is no need for that. This is just me trying to, as I was architecting this, I was trying to structure it a little bit. I would rather have that being called home type or invoice type, or just home controller and invoice controller within the controller directory. Okay, so there's that, and then there was repository. There was also entity, so it's doing the same thing. So these really should go up just in the entity, so we should delete them, move them out of there. Same with the forms, I believe. Now, we didn't get to test the helpers. There's quite a lot of work in here, okay? So, and you can see that there is types and stuff in here, but there's quite a lot involved. I think the helper directory needs to be focused on in a separate stream. I think that is quite a big chunk of work to look through. So maybe that's like a phase 2 of the refactoring. And then what we have here is other bits and pieces. So the bigger issues here are around the actual connections. So adding a try and catch. This is less of a refactoring, more of an architectural thing. So this is, checking that we have PDO exceptions. We don't do that yet. Sorry, I've just bashed the desk. We don't do that yet. And also refactoring the query builder so that the query statements are not exposed. So again, this is more of an architectural thing. It's a refactoring thing in the sense that we're not adding or changing functionality, but we are changing the structure of the application in a larger way than perhaps a refactor would do. So perhaps this should be handled separately. I think what I'm going to do is focus on the types first, because I think they are a quick win. Move controllers out of the type directory. Although I should say that when you've got a list like this and you've got something that is really difficult to do, sometimes it's best to focus on the difficult things first. and then use the quick wins as kind of like your reward for getting that done. However, I'm just, the way this is laid out, I think that the types are probably best to go through. And also, I'm still trying to get myself back into the mix of this code because I haven't touched this code in a few days. Yesterday I was reviewing it, but I haven't actually been working with it for a while. So I think, using those types is a good thing at this stage. Also, I haven't had my first cup of tea yet, so so I don't want to do anything too taxing straight away. The amount of tests that we have, like I said, we could do with some more. I think there isn't enough, but they're going to be testing those things. And this is the point. I know from previous experience that the tests that I've got, especially with the query builders and so forth, they should break when we fiddle around with these types. And that is that's a good thing. All right. So doing the refactoring and not changing the tests should essentially break the tests, right? Or doing this type of refactoring at least. If not, then that obviously shows that you haven't got enough code coverage. Okay, so enough talking. Let's start working. So we're going to be working through the type directories. I think what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do, I think it's probably wise, if I go to the browser here and I actually add an issue to this. So I'm going to do move files out of, or move PHP, they're classes, come on, classes out of type directories, okay. The ones that we're aware of are controllers, entities, and forms. Oh, and repositories, I think. Let's go back. What have I got here? I've got yep, controllers. We've got entities. Yep. We've got forms, and we've got repositories. Okay, yeah, I think that covers it. Okay, so I think that's a nice little thing to do. So we're going to probably, let's see, can we do that in checkboxes? Oh, we can do it in checkboxes. Of course we can do it in checkboxes. Controllers. Now I see. It would be nice if that was just if it knew that I was putting a checkbox, so it would copy that. Entities, copy that. Forms, and then repositories. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm going to assign this to myself, obviously. I'm going to add this as a label. The label is an it is an enhancement, I suppose. I guess you are enhancing the system, I guess, a little bit. Although no, it's not really it's not an enhancement, to be fair. It's view. I can't really add a label to it. There isn't a label for this. I think. I tell you what. Let's edit the labels. Let's create a label, new label. Let's call this refactoring. Let's actually show you what I'm doing. Refactoring. So not okay, whatever. So yeah. Functionality. And yeah, that's a good label, I think. Yellow. Wonderful. So let's go back to the issues. Let's grab that and go into labels here, and let's add the label, which is that one. Yay. Okay. So this is my sort of like things to do list, checkbox, if you will. And we're running on 88. That is the issue number here. So what I usually do is, if I go back into the code here, we need to come out of the come out of the container. We'll do a git checkout -b, and this is 88 type dir. Oh, okay. Ah, yes, sorry, I did alters. That's fine, no worries. Okay, so that's cool. We are now in that directory, in that git branch. Come on, use your words. And let's just, for sanity's sake, run that again. Wonderful. I'm going to remove these two tests here. Well, they're actually attestations. They're not tests. So if we're in acceptance, I think it's in here. I believe it's these two. We're just going to comment those out. Whoops, comment them out, not remove them. Come on. There we go. Save. Run those again. Wonderful. Okay, so that's my benchmark. That's my that's what I want to see, and what I will be seeing before I do any committing. Right. Okay. I'm going to, first of all, we're going to work through, excuse me, the form. Well, the form doesn't have anything in it, so what we're going to do is put the git keep in there, like so, and we're going to remove the type. We're going to start small. Let's run this. This should just pass. But the point here is that we're doing it in iterative steps. We're not just suddenly going through this file system, removing all the stuff and then running the tests all at once, because that would just be chaos. We're doing it one at a time. So next one is this. So we're going to move these out. So we're going to copy these two into here. It's going to, PHP Storm is doing a clever little searchy thing. We're going to delete the type directory because that's not required anymore. And notice that these have gone blue. This is because PHP Storm has gone, you've gone and moved things. However, we do need to tidy up the namespace. Come on, it says it there, namespace. We need to tidy up the namespace. So we're going to remove. Well, first of all, let's run these tests. We've moved files around. Let's run the tests. We've got some failures. Boom, we've got 9 failures. Okay, so that is good. That's me proving to myself that the tests are actually there and they're backing me up here. There's 9 things that have broken because of this movement of these files. Does not controller set? Well, I don't know what. Does controller exist? Okay. I think what's going to happen here is let's move that out, and then therefore there's no need to have this case because we're putting everything in the same directory structure here. There's no point in having that use case for the abstract controller. Okay, let's run this. This probably will still break. Yep. Still the 9 failures. Okay, let's now take a look at the actual code, the actual tests. So down in what is failing here? Is it? It looks like. Let's scroll up. It looks like it's acceptance tests. Let's have a look. They failed there. Controller validator tests. This is no. The unit tests failed. Okay, let's focus on the unit tests. So we can do that by running just the unit tests. Okay, so we have 4 failures here. So notice I'm now breaking this down. So there was 9 failures in total, but now I'm looking at specific failures. So we're focusing first on the unit tests, and then I guess the rest are going to be in acceptance tests or maybe even integration. Okay, so the first failure here we have does not exist. Test is failing. HTTP validator. Does action exist? Failed asserting that false is true. This is on action validator test. Let's go down to here, which is in unit helper HTTP validation, and this is type action validator test. So really, again, all of these things need to be in outside of the type directory. Yeah, notice that this is wrong. So this namespace, because I've changed it, it's wrong. And actually PHP unit is highlighting this, which is great. So let's remove that from here. Okay, so now that should now be okay. Okay, so let's run this and see if any of that has worked. So now we have 2 failures. So I'm guessing now that the next fix is going to be very similar to this. We're just changing namespaces. Okay, so this is controller validator test on line 34. Line 34 down here. And again, it is in here, and that is not required. And also, I'm going to just tidy that up and remove those as well. Let's save that. Run this. And now they've all passed. So that is awesome. I'm going to commit this, okay, as sort of a fix on, well, I'll tell you what, we've only done the unit test. Let's run the whole thing again. I'll commit this once all the tests are passing. Okay, so what we've got here is 5 failures, and it looks like this is acceptance tests. Okay, so let's have a look. Unit tests have all passed. Integration tests have all passed. Yeah, it is acceptance tests. So let's run just the acceptance tests. Yep. Okay, so yeah, they're the 5 that I've broken. Okay, let's scroll up a little bit, get to the first one. So the first failure is that test the response code for the home page. See response 404 failed that on page and then we have an error here. Validator failed app HTTP helper root in blah 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 on line 23. Validator failed. And then we have some sort of memory. Content too long to display. Whoops. Okay, I think at this point what we need to do is actually take a look at the way the controllers are actually being called. So let's take a look at that. This is in, first of all, let's do public. Index.php. So we then go up to config, which is not here. Where did config go? App config. Bootstrap. So these are all the bootstrap stuff, and if we go into config itself, that's fine. If we go into the routing itself, so what's happening here is that, can you see, the namespaces are wrong. So we need to remove that, and we also need to remove all of these as well, because these are the classes for the controllers. I think. Has that worked? App controller. Okay. I thought that would work. Let me comment that out and just type in home. You not picking that up? Home controller. Use controller home. There we go. I don't know why that didn't like... okay. Yep, sorry. Okay, I kind of understand. Yeah, I was using shorthands when I... So if I did this, for instance, invoice, if I can spell it, invoice, and I put in it as a controller, and then move that up, we can see that we have all of this. But really what would be awesome is if we could do controller, and then that. So if we brought this all the way back to app, is it that way, or is it? No, it is that way. Of course it is. Nope. I just don't want to be in a situation where we're having to put in all of the namespaces. But maybe we're going to have to do that. There we go. That's better, isn't it? That's better. So instead of instead of type, it's controller. There we go. That's what I was looking for. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so that's now tidied up. Let's save that and let's run the tests again. Okay, brilliant. But could you imagine me changing this without any tests and then just putting this into production? It would just fall over and catch on fire. So let's run the whole thing. Just to make sure. Just to make sure. You don't want to get too cocky, overconfident. The tests are there to help you to reinforce the fact that everything that you are aware of that you have tested works. So use that as a tool. So, okay, they all work. That's fine. That's all super handy and good. Next on the list was, if I go back to the list here, if I go back to the browser, the next on the list was entities. Okay, so let's take a look at those. Entities. Okay, so we want to move all of that into here. We want to delete the type and the keep. Okay, so again, what we need to do is go through and take off type here. But what I want to do is just run the tests and see what I've broken. And you can see quite a lot. Quite a fair amount, to be honest. 52 failures. So pretty much half of the test suite is broken just because of that move. Okay, so first of all, the first thing I'm going to do is remove this, and then there's no need to remove that, or there's no need to have that. So this is just tidying up the namespaces. Whoops, what have I done here? There we go. There we go. Same with this one. And removing that because abstract entity is within that folder. Removing this and the type. And also removing the same thing on status as well. Has that fixed anything at all? We went from 52. No, not a sausage. Okay, right. So I'm guessing there's an issue somewhere down the line with how these well, first of all, they would be namespace issues first, and then they would be how that's all connected and stuff. So what we can do is first take a look at the, first of all, let's break this down. 52 is quite a big number to manage, so let's just look at units first. We have 32. So, and I think it's probably best to work on units and then work on the acceptance tests and integration tests afterwards, because once you've got your unit of working, right, then you can then filter the changes off to the acceptance and the integration tests. Try not to focus on the acceptance tests first, because if you do that, you will inevitably have to fix the unit tests. So you might as well work from the bottom up rather than the top down. All right, so so hydration. Okay, so these are all unknown classes, which is something to do with the namespace, which are pretty straightforward to fix. So we can focus on those things. Let's take a look at, so it's hydrators. So if we go to hydrator here, let's just pick one. I've grouped these all, which is awesome. So I can do -G and then group them by hydrator. Which is 4. So notice here we've gone from 52 errors to 32 to 4. So I'm slowly narrowing down my circle, making my circle of fixes smaller, which means that they're more manageable, and I'm working on less things that could interfere with other bits and pieces. Okay, so we have 4 issues here, all within the group of hydrators. So yeah, can you see all of these things I've gone grey here? This is because we can't find those. I bet if I was to change the use statement, take the type out like that, all of these things should come back as they were. However, why is... Okay, yep. So that the customer is okay, but the hydrator itself is broken. So if because you can see that these are all grayed out here. So I need to go into the hydrator and I need to remove that. Okay, run the tests. And we have still 4, so that either didn't touch those things, or hang on. Expected. Okay, expected. Okay. So this needs to... So this is a little bit deeper. Yep. Okay, so let's run those. Now, you could say, why don't you just, do a search and replace and remove type from entity? I could do that, but I don't have enough confidence in my test suite. I've only got 115 tests, so I could do that, but I could break something else. So sometimes it's nice to be looking at this in a manual kind of manner. And when you're only dealing with 3 errors at one specific point, it's it becomes a negligible benefit. So this one is status. Okay, so we go to status tests, and again, it would be a case of removing that. Now, because I've changed the parent, I think I should just remove these 2. Because not the parent, the hydrator on rest, I should hopefully now only have 2 errors, which I do. So we can now see a little pattern that's happening here. So the next thing is invoice. So let's take a look at that. So I bet I just remove this, and I bet I just go into here, into the hydrator, and I bet I just change that. Okay, save that and then run the tests again. Yep, now we've only got 1. So, and I bet that's this one, and it is. So can you see that there's a little pattern that's evolving here? So we remove that from here. We go into the item hydrator in hydrate. Sorry, I've made that smaller. Let's make that a little bit bigger for you. Open that up and then remove that code. Okay, save, run, and it's passed. Time for tea. I found my Run PHP mug, and it's a little bit faded because of the dishwasher. But yeah, I need to get some more programming related mugs. Right, let's come out of this. So let's just run all the unit tests. We know that there was 52 or 32 units that were broken. We've just fixed, I think, 5. So what are the next ones? Status test. This would be in entity. So let's bring that out a little bit. Entity. So that's hydrators. That's done. I've grouped them, hopefully all by entity, hopefully. Yep, all 28 of them are grouped by entity. Okay, so the problem here is very similar. It's just these things, I think. And I think what I could do at this point, let's just run this and see if I get 27. Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, it's probably okay to do a find and replace within the file structure, within here. So what I do is I do a find in path, sorry, a replace in path, beg your pardon. Don't think you can see this from the stream because this is a PHP Storm pop-out window and I'm not sharing the whole screen. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm just typing in app and then entity and then type. And what I'm doing, and then put in that here, then I'm copying that and replacing that with just app entity, removing the type. Okay, so we're going to do a replace all. We found 8 occurrences and across 6 files. So I'm only going to do it within this directory here, the entity directory, and you can see that they've all gone blue. So let's run these tests and see if there's anything else that's broken. So now we have 1 error, which is awesome. So we've gone straight from 27, I think it was, all the way to 1 just by doing that. There is an issue here, entity type status. So I obviously haven't done something, or I've grouped something wrong. So this is test insert or update invoice with status. That is actually a DB. So this is actually up in here. This is in query builder test. Okay, DB. Okay. I see what's happening here because these are also grouped by that. Fair enough, no problem. That's okay. Let's just remove these 2, run this, and they've all passed. Excellent. So let's now run all the units together. That's good. Like that. Let's now run all of the tests, including the acceptance tests. We've still broken the acceptance tests and the integration tests. Okay, so now we have 20 errors. So let's focus on the integration tests first. So, oops, run integration. So we have 13 tests in here, and 13 of them have failed. So let's take a look at what is going on. First thing is these things up here. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this, and I'm going to just do a replace in path, sorry, and I'm going to replace that. Replace the namespace from app entity test to app entity, and then the entity its name itself. I've done that in all of the files here, so let's run this. So now we have 9 failures. Okay. Okay. So these are actually touching upon the database. So this is doing other things that will probably affect the managers and maybe the repositories too. So if I highlight this, you can see it a little bit clearer. Argument 1 pass to app manager status save must be an instance of app entity type status. So herein lies the problem here. So let's go up to app entity type. which is, sorry, this is in, no, that's not right, is it? It's managers. So let's go to src manager. Okay, so somewhere in here. Again, what I'm going to do, because I'm feeling fairly confident now as to the issues of this, is I'm going to highlight that, copy that, and then I'm going to do right click, replace in path, or shift command R. And I'm going to replace app entity type with just app entity, and we're going to replace all of those. There is 4 occurrences across 4 files, and then we're going to run the tests again. So we've still got 9 errors, so there's obviously something else that's needs to be wired up. This is in the repositories. So let's open those up. Again, I'm feeling fairly confident. So let's hit the replace in path, and yep, there's quite a few. Let's replace those. There is 5 occurrences across 4 files. Let's replace all of those. Run the tests again. And we have, perfect, that's good, 13 tests, 37 assertions, and they've all passed. Let's now run all of the tests from off. So all of the acceptance tests, we've still got failures with those. Integration tests should pass now, and we should have passing on the unit tests. So we've gone from 52 broken tests down to 7. Okay, so, and again, as you can see here, there is this problem with the namespace. So they're really common issues here. They're really common issues with this, as one would expect when you're moving files and stuff. But it's always good to sort of do this in a sort of a piecemeal kind of manner, I find anyway, just to make sure that you don't break anything that is unexpected. Okay, so the DB status entity cysts here. Let's go and take a look. This could even be just a problem with the tests themselves. So in acceptance tests in DB status cyst, scroll. Actually, no, it's entity cyst, isn't it? Okay, here and here. Okay, and then use what's in the use statement. Okay, so what I can do here is just do a shift L to bring that back. Status is now in here, and I remove that. And I'm guessing we're going to have to follow a similar pattern. Let's just run the tests again. I think we had, how many did we have failing last time? It was 7. So we've got 5. Okay, so that is the thing that is fixing it, but I've got a feeling it's going to be the same case throughout. Yeah, these types. Remove the types. Yep, and check that one. That's good. Okay, run here and see what's happening. All 15 acceptance tests have passed. Awesome. All integration tests have passed. All unit tests have passed. We're back to normality. We've got 115 tests, 233 assertions, and they have all passed. Wonderful. Next thing I'm going to do, if we go back to the browser, the next thing on this list, because we've done controllers, we've done entities, and we've done forms. The next one is repositories. So we're going to go into the code again. And a very similar thing. I mean, one could argue I should really be committing this as I go, but I'm confident that this is going to be okay. So let's take a look at the repositories. So what's going on here? Oh yeah, I need to remove all of this. Bung that up into there. PHP Storm does its magic. I then delete the type directory, which removes the git keep. Okay, so the first thing, as we know, we need to remove the type directories from here, which means that the abstract repository isn't required. So it's very similar. This is extremely samey as the other pieces of work. All right. sometimes refactoring is not the most exciting thing in the world. But as you've seen, this is very far-reaching. This is, and if this is done wrong, it can have horrible impacts to your code base. Okay, let's run these tests. I should have broken something at least. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna narrow this down, narrow our testing circle down. So we've got run units, so we're going to run all of those. They've all passed, which is good. We're going to run the integration tests. If I can spell integration. Okay, 13 integration tests, and we have 13 failures, so they've all broken. Okay, so let's take a look at those tests and see. This is like find all statuses. Let's take a look at that. So in tests, integration. This is a status, isn't it? Okay, so that's not required. That's interesting. Yep. Okay, so I'm guessing it's going to be very similar. We're going to just copy this, and we're just going to grab that, and we're going to do a refactor. No, we're not. We're going to do a replace in path. This time we're going to, instead of app entity, we're going to do app repository. We're going to remove the type directory, so we're going to replace all of those. You can't see this because this is a pop-out, but what I've essentially done is, I've removed all of the app repository types from here. Although, as you can see, I have messed this up a little bit. Let's remove all the ones that we don't need. I think I added an extra. There we go. An extra thing there. Okay, so let's run the tests and see if any of that actually did anything. No, the problem is a bit deeper. So argument 1 passed to a manager, status manager must be an instance of app repository type status repository. So we know that that is not right. So this is argument 1 passed to the managers. So the managers up here. Again, I'm going to just do a replace in path, and I'm going to remove app repository type and replace that with app repository. And that's done. Okay, so let's just run the tests again. And they have all passed. Wonderful. So let's run everything in its entirety. We have broken acceptance tests. That's fine. Integration tests are now working. Unit tests are working. We have 7 errors. Okay, so let's run the acceptance test. Let's narrow down our testing circle. All right. Okay, so the problem here, again, is the namespace. Update test here. So this is probably going to be something to do with in the acceptance test here, in update test of DB status entity. Yep. Okay, so there's a problem with this namespace. Again, I'm going to right-click here, replace in path, or if you're on a Mac, it's Shift Command R to open up the replace in path thing. You can't see this on the screen. I do apologize. Then I just type in what I'm replacing it and what I'm replacing it with. Press that. Off you go. That's now changed. Marvelous. Run the tests. And they've all passed. So I'm going to go back and run the whole suite, all the suites together. Wonderful. 115 tests, 234 assertions, all of them are passing. So I'm really, really happy with that. That is pretty cool. If I go back to the browser, I can say that works, and also the repository as well. Why can't I click on repository? That's weird. Anyway, if I go back to the code here, we've done an awful lot of changes to our code base. If I did a git status, if I came out of the container and then did a git status, we have all of these changes. There's loads, isn't there? Absolutely loads. But these I think are all good. I want to just do a git ignore quickly of the notes because I don't really want to commit the notes file. So that's notes.php. And the first thing there is I'm going to just do a git add of .gitignore. And then if I did a git status, hopefully, yeah, okay, so I'll add all of them apart from the notes. That's fine. That's okay. So let's do git add. Everything is in src. That can go up. Everything in tests can go up. If I did a git status again, we have app and config routing. That can go up too. It was app. Okay, cool. All right, let's do a git commit. -m. And this is refactoring. Controllers, entities, forms, and repositories. By removing type directory. Okay, cool. Let's now do a hub pull request -p. And I'm going to do in insert mode, we're going to close, and I believe it was 80, was it 88? I forget. Yeah, 88. Closes 88. Okay. Exit that, write and quit, come out of Vim, bye-bye. Off you go. Push that up. Brilliant. So branch blah 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 has been pushed up to origin. So now if I go back to the browser, we should see that as a pull request, which it is. If I open this up, you can see whoops. That's what I wanted. You can see all of the files that have been changed. There is a tremendous amount of files that have been changed, but they're really very similar. We're just changing the namespaces and the use cases. Well, basically the imports, really. But I like that because it's a nice, succinct pull request. Okay, so let's open that. Let's merge and pull. Confirm the merge. Delete the branch. Brilliant. Okay, so now we've gone down to the third issues. 3 issues, which is good. So let's go back into the code. Let's go back into the master branch. So we go to git checkout master. And then, whoa. Your local changes to, oh God. So I don't really want to commit that. I think what I'm going to do, I don't really want to commit my notes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab notes. It's ignored but tracked. Let's just copy that. Copy all of that, and I'm going to just bung this into my own personal notes application, I think. Just for the time being. Okay, let's now do a git pull. So that should pull in all of those changes, which is doing. Wonderful. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. That's cool. Let's just copy all of those back in. So we've done this. We've done this. We've done this to do keep. What is that? To remove it or to add it? Hang on. What was I doing? Repository. I don't think there's any need for it. No. So that's removed. And from SRC, do we have a git keep in SRC? Yeah, we do. Okay, I'll remove that in a second. From entity type, entity, we don't have that anymore, so that's gone. Move entities out of type directory. Yep, we've done that. Let's just make this a wee bit bigger so everybody can see it. Okay. Okay, I might as well just start from the top. We haven't done this. We haven't done the question. We haven't done that. We haven't done this or that or the connection or the credentials or this thing here or that thing there. We've done this though. We haven't done that. We haven't checked the managers and helpers. Fine. And we haven't done that. Okay, but it is a little smaller to manage. Let's bring that a little bit down. So yeah, I'm quite happy. The other low-hanging fruit here, of course, is that just removing the lists here. So let's butty these all together. So let's copy that. Because that's two removals. And then this is probably another quick win. So now I'm kind of in the stage of grouping them together. So fixing 404. So this is an acceptance thing. I might look at that individually on its own. I might look at that on its own. I'll look at that on its own. I'll look at that when I look at that. And I'll probably look at the credentials in config on its own. I think that warrants its own branch. Check view render that template exists. I think that needs to be on its own as well. These probably could go together-ish, although I probably would put that on its own, just because it's an easy thing to do. You're just adding something to composer.json, but I would like to have in the Git history that was done, and it's not mixed in with anything else. Question is something that I need to answer myself, and that needs to be done separately too. All right, so there's a couple of things here we can do. I'm just going to grab a little bit of my squash. I think what we'll do is we'll focus on the small change first. Okay, so let's go back into the browser and actually start making some of these issues. So first of all, we have PDO to composer.json. Okay, that needs to be done. This is myself, and the labels are refactor. Wonderful. Next one is the remove list and the git keep. Again, to myself, it is refactoring. Next issue is the remove the git keep from src. Excellent. So I think that will be good for this round. Before I then start, there's no point in adding lots and lots of issues to GitHub if I'm not going to tackle them straight off the bat. Although it would be nice to capture this information somewhere. But I think for now this is good. Let's go back to the code and start working through some of this. Actually, let's go to the issues and find the issue numbers. So this is 91. This is remove list.php from views. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's go to the code. If I hit the right button. Yep, I have hit the right button. Okay, so let's go to here. Let's go git checkout -b 91 remove list.php. Now you might be thinking, why on earth are you doing this? You know, what's the point in doing all of this stuff? Why can't you just do this in one thing? I don't know if list.php is needed anywhere else, so I might break it by removing it. So we're going to dive into the status. This is why I want to keep this all isolated. We'll run the tests just to reassure that everything is working before we actually tackle this, which they are. And the list.php, I think, is in... it was a view, wasn't it? It was in public views, list.php. That is the offending one. So let's remove that. Where is the delete button? There we go. So that's removed. Run the test again. Fingers crossed. None of the it would be the acceptance tests. No. Good. Good. So that was just dead code. Okay. Cool. Okay. So we can do git commit -m removing list.php from views. Okay, let's see if we can do a pull request. Whoops, sorry, I need to go into insert mode. And then this closes, I think it was #91. Yep. Sometimes I pressed escape and I wasn't sure whether the escape button worked. There we go. Off it goes. Cool. So I can go into the browser here and then take a look at that pull request. We'll merge it in. We'll confirm the merge. We'll delete the branch. and then we'll take another look at another issue, which is the this time it is the add the extpdo. So, whoops, come on. Let's do a git checkout of master, git pull, okay. So that is out of there. Okay, add extpdo to composer.json. Scroll to the bottom here. So composer.json file here. What I'll do is first on this, I think I'll do an update first. Let's do an update with a dry run first of Composer, just to make sure that to see if there's any changes to these packages here. Let's do a first of all, let's do a git checkout -b, and what is this? This is 90. Composer PDO ext. We'll go into the we'll go into the container, because we want to make sure that, I know the last few weeks I've changed the PHP version on my host machine. Whenever you deal with PHP and Composer in containers, you want to be making sure that you are working within the container and not the host machine. You do not want to be relying on your PHP extensions or your PHP versions or anything like that on your host machine if you're working if your code is within a container, because it should be relying on the container's setup, not your setup. So we're going to do Composer, we're going to do update, but we're also going to do -- dry run. Now this, if I can get this right, I think that's the right way. That should run it in a dry run, I think. Actually, now I'm totally nervous. Let's do Composer --help. I think dry run was correct, but let's just double check. Composer update --help. It is, scroll up. Come on, there must be something in here to dry run it. I don't want to update it if there isn't anything. Here we go. -- dry run outputs the operations but will not execute anything. Excellent. Okay, and then implicitly enables the verbose thing. That's what we want to do. So we want to do Composer -- dry run. Now, just a little side point on this: when you're doing Composer, it's very good to, obviously, you've got to make sure that everything all your dependencies are updated. What I recommend doing is every day at least do a Composer -- dry run. Maybe get this running on perhaps a cron that sends you an email that lists all of the packages that could possibly be installed. Look at this. This is a tremendous amount of stuff that would be updated. If I didn't run the update, if I didn't run the dry run, all of this would be installed. Now, running dry run won't install anything, won't update any of the packages, but it will give you this output, and then this gives you the ability to make a decision as to whether or not you should run this. And it's very, very handy. I would highly recommend you do this. Like I said, perhaps on a cron every day. So when you get into work, you read a report that says, oh yeah, all of these dependencies have now been updated or can be updated. What's the worst thing is that you're unaware of the updates and you leave them for such a long time. Really, if you do this every day, your updates should be small and minimal, and you should be putting these updates into your deployment process. Okay, you don't want to be holding up your deployment process because your dependencies are out of date. So by updating them frequently, you're not only making sure that you've got all the patches and everything, but you're not interfering with your day-to-day deployment. So what I'm saying is don't update automatically. Don't update automatically, because that's like, you're giving over responsibility that the code is going to be okay. You're assuming that all of these packages work, and you're also assuming that your dependency versioning is set up correctly. So that's using the tilde here, not tilde, sorry, caret 3.0. So that's going to get everything up to version 3. Everything up to version 4. So 4 and down of that. So that'll be 3.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, blah, 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 blah. And that will be everything from 0 and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and all the minor points in between. And then that will be anything that is 8.1 and then anything, any minor version underneath. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what do we do here? Well, I want to put on the ext_pdo on the composer.json in here, but there's all of this stuff to update. So I think what I need to do is I need to make another issue where I copy all of this and I go into the code, the browser here, and I create a new issue. Oh, I didn't actually create that one. Sorry, let me just do that first before I move on. That should be the remove git keep job. I didn't actually save that. So we're going to create an issue, and we're going to do update composer packages. And this is sample output from dry run. We're just going to paste that in, okay? Assign that to myself, and that's good. Okay, so now I've split off the two issues. We've got the update of composer packages, and we've got the ext_pdo, because really we want to be adding this in a stabilized manner. So we know that, even though we know that the code is... sorry, I didn't actually show you that. Sorry, beg your pardon. Here we go. So we have what I did. Sorry, I didn't show you that. I didn't press the right button at the right time. So we have add ext_pdo composer. What I've done is I've just put that in as a separate issue, and we also have update composer packages as a separate issue as well, because what we want to do when we add this extension, and this isn't really going to break because it's just adding a requirement of the extension that we already know that we have, but I'm just trying to use this as a sort of a means of explaining the separation of concerns. They're two separate concerns. One is to add ext_pdo to composer.json. This could be another package, perhaps, that you're adding, and you want to be adding it to a stable state, and you know that it is a stable state because your tests have already passed. If, for example, we went in and we just, sorry, I've gone and clicked the wrong thing, went in and just updated all of the composer packages, we now make this into an unstable state because we are adding all of these packages to our system, and we must do a test, run our tests after we update all of these things, because here, look, we're updating Codeception, we're updating the console, we're updating all sorts of things, PHP stan, in fact. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we analyze all of these things, we go through all of these things, and we go, okay, this is going to affect the testing, this is going to affect PHP stan, this is going to affect the console, this is going to affect other things as well, and we need to go through and test those afterwards. So let's focus on the PDO first. This is issue 90, which I believe we're on. Let's just go into the code. Code. Let's just exit that out. I just want to do a git. Oh yeah, I can see that we're on. My Z shell has said that we're on 90. I do like Z shell. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to add a requirement here, which is ext PDO, and we're going to just do this at any version. We're going to go into the container again, and we're going to do composer, and this time we're going to do install. Because we're not updating, we're just installing it. It should just run from the composer log file. Oopsie. Composer. There we go. Okay, so it will warn me that the log file is not up to date with the current version of Composer, but because of these updates that are coming through, we want to do that separately. That's okay. The thing that I wanted to just double check is that none of this broke, none of the actual formatting of this broke. If I was to change the formatting of this and break something, Composer wouldn't run. So that's cool. Okay, so I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to do the tests again. I know this is going to work and everything, but just for belt and braces, all of that will pass. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an update. So composer update. Oops, up. Come on. Couldn't find the D. There we go. So that will run through and it will update all of those changes, which means that I can now close both of these issues once that works. But what we need to do immediately after this is run our tests to make sure that nothing has broken in Codeception and PHP unit and all of that other jazz that there's a lot of stuff that we're having to deal with. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself that I haven't done this more frequently. So that, yep, there's quite a lot of change here. Quite a lot of change. Okay, so that's all done. That's all good. And what we can do is let's run Codeception straight away. Just wait for my PHP Storm to finish indexing. There we go. Whoops. Run. Wonderful. Okay, that's good. That gives me a level of confidence that that was okay. Now also let's do PHP stan. Now I haven't ran this in a while, so what comes out of this might be things that that have or broken in existence. So we want to do PHP stan. We're going to do analyze. We're going to do src. We're just going to go straight to level 7. We have one error that's broken. Okay, so this is a call to undefined method status repository update. Interesting. Okay, I'll take a look at that later. The fact of the matter is that we have that passing. I don't suppose there's level 8 now, is there? No. No, okay, no worries. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is let's just create a new issue. And let's just deal with this. Let's just put that in. Let's just copy that in. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a new issue and PHP stan error on level 7. This is me. Bug. Submit. Oh, that didn't actually output properly, but I can see it here. That's fine. That's fine, no problem. Okay, let's go back to the code and let's commit what we've done, because we've done a lot of change to Composer. If we scroll up a wee bit, I want to just grab this output. Copy that. Okay, let's do a git status to see what has changed. We have the Composer lock file and the JSON file. Let's do git add Composer asterisk to add those in. Git status to make sure they're both in. That's correct. Okay, let's do a git commit -m updates to packages and adding PDO ext. Wonderful. Okay. Ooh, what's happened here? Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing that on the in the host machine, in the container, not the host machine. Sorry. Let's do a git status just to make sure that that has ran through. That has. Okay. Let's do a git commit. My mistake. -m. Sorry, I'm going to have to do that again. So that is -m, updating Composer packages and adding ext, adding PDO ext. Wonderful. Let's do a pull request. Now, the reason why I added the the output to my clipboard is that I should be able to paste that in, because I would like. It's always nice in your Git commits to include what packages were actually installed, because you know when you get into when you get into dependency hell. It's good to go back through your commits and see, well, actually what did change. And yes, I know you can go through and have a look at your Composer lock file and see what had been changed in the history, but sometimes an output like this on a commit that is nice and succinct like this, it's just easier to read, I think, because it's just a thing on every line, whereas when you're going through the lock file, it can be quite confusing because the structure doesn't warrant readability very well. It's the structure for Composer, not for you. Anyway, this closes. What does this close? This closes not 95. 95 is PHP stan. Let's go back to the browser. This closes. It closes 94, and it closes 90. So we're going to go back to here. So closes 94, and I'm not sure if we can do like multiple hashes. I might have to do this on, I don't know, I haven't really checked, but that should close those automatically. Okay, so let's come out of Vim and write and quit. That should push this all the way up to GitHub, which it's doing very nicely. Let's go back into the browser here. We should see in the pull requests tab, we should see a pull request. And yep, this is the output here. So the point I was making earlier about having some way of having a script that does a dry run, right? You could have a script that does a dry run, and then you could have a sort of a pre-commit hook, if you want, or something like that, which fills out the update from Composer when you do it. So you could happily automate it to a point where there is still manual intervention, because you still need to read through and have a look at this. If I didn't know PHP stan hadn't been updated, I wouldn't have ran a PHP stan. Therefore, I wouldn't have known that there was a PHP stan error. And now I don't know whether that error is because of this update. Maybe they've tightened something up a little bit, or maybe it has been an existing error. But still, I now have a broader reach of the quality of this code base. I know that there is a problem with PHP stan, or a problem that PHP stan has brought up. Okay, anywho, that is good. So I can scroll down here, I can merge that in, I can confirm the merge, and we're going to delete that branch. Wonderful. Okay, go to issues. So we have a PHP stan error, and we have that git src issue here. We're going to go back into the code, and we're going to just take a little nosy around. Let's go to the git. Let's check out the master. So we switched, and okay, let's do a git pull. No, pull, not pill. Cool, so that's all pulled. Okay, let's go back to my notes. There we go. Another point that I want to make is that I literally just removed the line todo ext PDO, right? But that was so much more than just adding the PDO extension to Composer. That was finding out that you had a lot of packages that needed to be updating, and also finding out that your there was a PHP stan error. So, the point here is that just because you've written a single line down in your to-do doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you're going to be working through. There might be other things that are related to that. Yeah. Okay, another one that we're going to do is we're going to remove the git keep from... Oh, sorry, I've just kicked the microphone. So we're going to remove that. The git keep, that should be a fairly straightforward thing. Let's go back to the browser, and let's go to here. So remove git keep from src. And we can do... check out -b. What is this? This is 93. 93. So 93, and this is git keep. All right. Okay. So this is in src. I think this is what I use to scaffold this together, because I wanted to create the directories first. If you ever watch the very first stream, and these streams are archived eventually onto YouTube, and I've streamed, I think, 38 of them or something like that. I don't know. There's over 30 so far. I know that we're in the 40s. I think I need to catch up a bit. There will be one going out today, by the way, to update, but the very first one is there. That's the whole point. Also, if you go to learnobjectorientatedphp.com, you can find all the streams there too. But the very first stream, I was just building the directories, and what I was doing is I was putting git keeps in to the directory structures to make sure that the directories were actually being kept in Git, because of course, if you don't put a file in your directory and you push that up to Git, it's not going to know that there's anything in there because, you know, there isn't anything in there, so it's not actually going to commit the directory. So a way to get around that is by having git keeps or .git keep or just a file, and then in your ignore file you have shebang here, which is exclamation mark and then git keep. So we're saying don't ignore git keeps. So we can remove that because we've got a stuff in here, so that can go. Okay, I know that this is going to work. I know that removing a git keep isn't going to blow a hole in the application, but just for clarity's sake, I'm just going to run the unit tests again, or all the tests. Why? Because I can. Because I can. Because I like seeing the green tick at the end. Wonderful. Awesome. All right, let's come out of the container. Let's do a git status. Let's do a, so that's already been deleted. That's fine. Let's do a git commit -m removing .git keep from src. Awesome, and we can issue a pull request on that. And we're going to insert mode, and we'll close down. Which one shall we close? It was, I think it was 93, issue 93. Come out of that, go into write and quit, and then push that all the way up. Marvelous. Okay, let's go back into the browser here, and let's take a look at the pull request that's come through. Merge and pull. Confirm the merge. Delete the branch, and everybody's happy. Okay, let's go back to the issues. Okay, PHP stan error. It's 9:04, and I think I'm going to shoot in just a second because my tea is cold. So I'll give it another few minutes. I'll fix the PHP stan issue, and then I will call the stream to an end, I think. Just because I do have things that I need to get on with and other bits and pieces, and I think that this is a nice sort of like end to the stream where I've, you know, fixed a bunch of stuff, found other bits and pieces to fix, and I've fixed those too. So, and also the other things on the notes here. If I go to the notes here, some of them are quite big, and I don't think, well, I know I'm not going to be able to squeeze any of these other issues in. But I just want to take a little peruse of this this issue with the PHP stan, because that's an interesting one. So let's do a git checkout of master. Let's do a git pull to bring in that change. Let's do a git checkout -b, and this is, where are we at? This is 95. Okay, so we go into the container. Which is here. And we run PHP stan. PHP stan. So the error is that call to undefined method app status repository update. So this is in the status manager on line 60. status manager on line 60. So all of this looks okay, apart from repository update. I'm going to have a look and see if there's anything in invoice, just to see if there's anything. There's save. Should save be... I think this is a legacy thing. I think this is something that I was playing with beforehand. I'm just going to double check. I want to just make sure that none of this has actually been called somewhere. No, it doesn't appear to be called anywhere. So I think it's safe to remove that. And if I was to look at the if I was to look at the status manager, sorry, the invoice manager, we've got save, we don't have update. And if I was to look at the customer manager, we also have save, we don't have update. So it's not following convention. We are not implementing any interfaces, so there's no danger of breaking contracts. So let's remove that. Save that. Run this. So that's all good. That's all fine. Oh, you get a tip of the day. That's cool. One or more properties in your code do not have a PHP doc with a type, but it could be inferred from the constructor to find more bugs. Huh. Okay. In your PHP stat. Okay. I might do that at some point. That's pretty cool. I like that. Tip of the day. Nice. Right. So I've just removed that code. I'm just going to test it again. Run all the tests just to be 100% sure that nothing was using that. I went through PHP stand to see if there was anything calling that, and it wasn't. But I just want to make sure that the tests are fine. And they are. They are testing. It's brilliant. It's 115 tests, 234 assertions, all of which are are passing. So I am really, really happy with that. That's cool. Okay. So let's come out of the container. And let's do a check out, status. So it was that src. So if we do git add src manager git status, that should now be up in here, which it is. So let's do a git, a hub. No, sorry, a commit. I need to do a commit first. So commit, and it's removing update status update. The call was never used. I should do as the call was never used. Update as the call was never used. Awesome. Let's do a pull request, which is hub pull request -p. Insert mode, and then which one is this? This is 95. So this closes. Okay. Let's come out of that, exit that, write and quit. Up we go. Okay, go back into the browser here. Pull requests, sorry. Remove status, blah, blah, blah. Merge that in, confirm the merge. delete the branch, go back into the issues, and we are where we were when we started in terms of the number of issues. I will work through all of these in due course. Let's just have a look at the code though, because there's a couple of things that I need to tidy up on my system. Let's go to git checkout master. Let's do a git pull. Let's do a git branch. There's a lot of branches that I need to delete. So we do git, oops, sorry, Q, come out of that. Git branch -d, and it was whoop. Hang on, is there a -v or something to list the, yeah, there we go. But unfortunately, that's annoying, isn't it? I'm going to copy all of that and I'm going to put that into my notes just for a second. Come out of that because now I can't see the branch names, which is annoying. -d, and we're just going to copy this. So it was 88 type directory. That was the first thing we did. Then we did the 90 composer PDO ext. We also did the list 91. We also did git keep. And whoops. No, that's a question mark. That's annoying. Come on, copy that. We also did 95, which was the PHP stan error. Seriously? You're not copying that through? Whoa, okay, so type dirt wasn't, well, sorry, that was 88. D88 type dir. So if I now go to git branch, we have master and we have develop. Wonderful. That's really, really cool. I'm super happy with the way that this is going. Well, there still is in the notes, there's quite a few things, and they're quite heavy stuff to fiddle about with if I open this up. But it's being reduced. So I think tomorrow morning I might focus on some more of this, probably the credentials. I might focus on the DB stuff, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But that's tomorrow at 7:30, British summertime, same time as it was today, same time as it was yesterday on here. And then there's the Sunday stream. So the Sunday stream is at 14:30, which is 2:30 in the afternoon. And that's that tends to be a fairly longer one, and we're not focusing on this project. This project is the invoicing application, as I mentioned at the start of the stream. We'll be focusing on other bits and pieces. In fact, this Sunday, I will be rehearsing a talk that I'm giving to PHP South Wales. It's the first run of that talk. I'm still yet to deal with the slides, so it might be a little bit of a bit holy in places, shall we say. But it'll be my first run on Sunday. And the talk is going to be how to put your Docker image on a diet. So I'll be setting the stream up so you'll be able to, follow along. I've got a clicker, so I can change the slides. So there will be a bit of that. There'll also be, as usual, the banter on the hopefully on the chat, which is nice. And then I might be looking at other projects. I've got tons of stuff to play with. I've got all sorts of Symfony 4 things that I want to be playing with. I've got Python to work on. I've got loads and loads of stuff. But we'll just see. Sort of like the Sunday streams are more chilled out. They're more relaxed. They're more sort of like this is a bit more sort of formal because I'm building an application that will be used for teaching. So this is a little bit more formulaic, whereas the Sunday streams, it's just, come as you are type stuff. So yeah, so that's at 14:30 on Sunday. In the meantime, though, do check out the podcast. That's howtocodewell.fm. I interview some fantastic people. I have interviewed fantastic people, I should say. I do that every Friday. So last Friday we had Anna Felina on, and we were talking about legacy code, and it was an amazing chat. It was fantastic. I learned a lot. I've seen Anna. She's She's a speaker. I saw her speak about MySQL performance, database performance. She's done talks on unit testing and stuff like that, legacy code. And yeah, every week I have a guest on the show, and we talk about just various things about web development and programming. So we've got a guest on this Friday as well. I won't give too much away on that. You just have to check that out. That's howtocodewell.fm. And also do check the schedule because you'll see what's coming up in the future. But anyway, I need to shoot off because I do need to get on and crack on with some work myself. But thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone. And I will see you same time tomorrow, 7:30, British summertime. Speak to you later. Cheers. Bye.